Throughout the years, Black artists have been taken advantage of. And it's time now that we have to put a stop to this.
Oh, girl, Cat Williams ain't the first man folks called crazy for telling the truth. Long before his fur coats and fiery interviews, there were legends whispering the same warnings, and the world didn't listen. Michael Jackson stood on stage calling out record labels as devils in disguise. Prince wrote "slave" across his face, daring the industry to silence him.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
But you know how people do. They said Michael was bitter, Prince was eccentric, and both were losing it. Convenient way to ignore a warning when it's too loud to deny.
But baby, the receipts don't lie. The same traps, the same contracts, the same machine they fought, we're still seeing headlines about it today.
So tonight, we're stacking the voices of prophets past. Did Michael and Prince see the storm before it hit? Or were they just legends tired of fighting the game?
And before we dive in, shout out to our newest subscriber, Jadea Smith. You pulled up at the perfect time. This tea is decades in the making. So let's rewind the tape back to 2002. Michael Jackson wasn't on tour. He wasn't dropping music. He was standing in Harlem at Reverend Al Sharpton's headquarters, looking dead into the cameras and saying, "The record companies really do conspire against the artist." Not whispered tea, but shouted prophecy.
The record companies really do conspire against their artists.
And right there, you already lost half the crowd. Because when the king of pop says conspiracy, people roll their eyes. They called him paranoid, bitter, washed.
But let's keep it real. He named names, boo.
Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola's the president of the record division.
Michael pointed at Sony Music's boss, Tommy Mottola, and called him the devil. Not a metaphor.
He's a mean, he's a racist, and he's very devilish.
He said it plain.
And you don't just call the most powerful record exec in the game the devil without consequences. That's career self-destruction.
But he didn't stop. Just weeks later in London, Michael doubled down.
And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
Same message. Sony is corrupt. The system is rigged. And they'll chew up artists, especially Black artists, and spit them out when the money dries up.
The companies take advantage of them. They really do.
Now, let's pause here.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
On the surface, this just sounds like an artist mad about his label. Contracts are rough. Money arguments happen every day. So why make it prophecy level?
Because decades later, the headlines back him up. From Taylor Swift re-recording her catalog to artists suing for ownership, Michael's speech about exploitation sounds less like a rant and more like a roadmap.
Okay. But let's not pretend everybody was co-signing him at the time. Media called him out of touch. Even fans didn't want to believe their idol was caught in a losing battle with the machine.
And yet the receipts exist. Articles confirming that day in Harlem, footage of Michael saying the words. He didn't hide it. He broadcast it.
So basically, Michael went from smooth criminal to whistleblower in a sparkly jacket.
Got him!
Exactly. And that's the point. They painted him as crazy so they wouldn't have to admit he was right. Same trick they pull on anyone who steps out of line.
So what you're saying is, Michael wasn't spiraling, he was warning. And if the industry had listened instead of laughing, maybe some artists today wouldn't still be fighting for scraps of their own music.
That's right. Michael didn't just warn us about Sony. He warned us about the entire system. And the wildest part? Prince was saying the exact same thing, but in his own purple way.
Oh no, here we go. From Sequin Glove to Purple Rain, the prophecy tour continues.
Buckle up, boo, because Prince didn't just talk about devils, he branded himself a slave to prove the point.
Huh?
And that message, it still echoes today. Now, if Michael was the megastar shouting from the stage, Prince was the rebel writing prophecy across his face. Literally. In the mid-90s, he showed up with the word slave painted on his cheek. Not for fashion, but as a protest.
And folks thought he lost it.
What the hell is even that?
Like, Prince out here doodling on his own face? They laughed, called it eccentric, but that word was his warning shot.
I'll get you.
Exactly. He was trapped in a contract he called modern-day servitude. And when people asked why he changed his name to that unpronounceable symbol, he broke it down. If you don't own your masters own you. That's not poetry, that's prophecy.
They actually thrive off the fact that it's stolen property.
And let's keep it 100. He was right. Most artists never touch their own catalog again. The label owns it all, forever.
Prince didn't just complain. He rebranded his entire identity to fight back. He told Larry King straight up, the system will brand you crazy before they ever admit you're right.
Where did this reputation begin that you are difficult?
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Probably where all reputations begin. I think the media plays a big part in one's perception of me.
Same way Michael got painted paranoid. Same way Kat gets painted messy. Different decade, same machine.
And Prince didn't stop at interviews. At his 2010 BET Lifetime Achievement speech, he stood tall and said it again. Own your masters. That was his closing sermon, warning a new generation.
But did people listen? Nah. They clapped, called it inspirational, then went right back to signing away their catalogs.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
And that's the pattern, boo. Every time someone dares to say the truth out loud, the industry laughs them off. Until years later, the headlines prove them right.
So Prince wasn't doodling on his face for fun. He was branding himself with the truth. And looking back now, that truth feels less like rebellion and more like revelation.
Exactly. Michael called out the devils in the boardroom. Prince wrote the trap on his own skin. Both prophets, both dismissed, both proven right by time.
And if two of the biggest legends in music couldn't break the cycle, what chance did anyone else have?
That's the question, Keisha. Because the warnings didn't stop with them.
I don't like where this is going.
The echoes of Michael and Prince live on every time an artist today fights for their masters or battles their label in court.
So what you're telling me is, their prophecies weren't just about their careers. They were about the whole future of the industry.
I don't consider it proper that my creations belong to someone else.
Exactly. And the eerie part? We're still living in the shadow of those warnings today.
I can go up to a little kid on the street and say, do you know that I don't own Purple Rain? And they're appalled by that.
So here's the part that gives me chills, Keisha. Michael and Prince didn't just warn for themselves. They warned for the future. And if you listen close, their words feel less like complaints and more like a blueprint.
A blueprint we ignored. 'Cause here we are, decades later, still fighting over catalogs, contracts, and control. Different faces, same cycle.
Oh, Lord. Again. Again. Nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit.
And the way they left their warnings makes it hit harder. Michael's was a public call out. Microphones, cameras, no fear. Prince's was rebellion branded into his skin. Slave carved across his face. interviews breaking down ownership like gospel.
But you know what's eerie? Both of them got dismissed in real time. Folks laughed, rolled their eyes, said they were past their prime. But now those same clips are resurfacing with captions like, "He was right all along."
And maybe that's the legacy. They weren't just performers, they were prophets. They gave us the manual, but we didn't read it until years later.
And let's not forget, they paid the cost. Careers strained, reputations dragged, their warnings buried under tabloid drama. The system makes examples out of prophets to keep others quiet.
But the truth doesn't stay buried. Every time an artist today fights for freedom, those old clips resurface. Michael and Prince didn't just leave music, they left roadmaps.
So the real question isn't whether they were right. It's whether we're gonna keep ignoring the next warnings until history repeats all over again.
Because if Cat Williams looks like the wild prophet of our time, maybe that's not coincidence. Maybe he's standing in the same fire Michael and Prince already walked through.
And if we don't pay attention now, 20 years from today, somebody else gonna pull up these clips and say the same thing they tried to tell us.
Exactly. Prophecies don't disappear, Keisha. They echo. And Michael and Prince's voices are still echoing through every headline, every contract fight, every so-called crazy rant that ends up sounding like the truth. Michael Jackson, Prince, legends who turned their warnings into prophecy. They were mocked, dismissed, and written off, but time made their words ring louder than ever.
And now we're left asking, how many times does history have to repeat before we finally listen?
Because if legends couldn't break the cycle, maybe it's on us to recognize the patterns and call it out.
And as always, stay hydrated.